Larry Teppo used to play drums and sing a lot on Steve's gigs, the Cheers gigs and stuff that I was on. It's good to see and hear you again, Larry. All right, we've decided on Mustang Sally, and I just want you to know this is the first time I've ever done Mustang Sally for free.
This is John Keane on guitar. Yeah. Give it up.
Yeah. Mud
Come on,
shark.
make some noise.
Mud shark.
It's not your turn yet.
No, but he's Mud Shark.
Oh. And on saxophone and bass, I forgot you played bass back in the day. You doubled on sax and bass. This is Mark Nelson. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. And Larry's longtime drummer that sings, he's going to sing one now, Larry Teppo. Give it up. And then I'll introduce this guy here, and then you introduce that line. Oh, this is my good friend, amigo, goes to Mexico quite a bit, and excellent guitar player, Bob Scoggin.
Thank you. That's mi amigo, Todd Matheson. And then Jim Price sitting down on the job. No, he's not. Jim Price on the fiddle. Bruce Jackson on the stomach Steinway. And Jim Plattes, who plays a number of instruments. He's got the chromatic harmonica today. Hey, Jeff, do you want to pick my fiddle? My git fiddle? Yeah, you. Come on up. Jeff Crooks. I'll go out and check the balance. Jeff Crooks, another good friend of Steve Hegman's, as we all are.
Hey, Mustang Sally, you know you gotta slow your Mustang down. Mustang Sally now, baby, you know you gotta slow your Mustang down. Well, you keep on running around, my baby, gonna put your flat feet back on the ground. Bought you a brand new Mustang, bought 1956. You come on with that dignified woman, ain't gonna let me ride Mustang Sally now, baby. You know you better slow your Mustang down. Well, you keep on running around now, baby, gonna put your flat feet back on the ground. 'Cause all I gonna do is ride around Sally, ride, Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride around Sally, ride, Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride around Sally, ride, Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride around Sally, ride, Sally, ride. One of these early mornings, baby, gonna be wiping your weeping eye. Well, I bought you another Mustang. This time it was 1975. You come on with that dignified woman. You ain't gonna let me ride Mustang Sally, baby. You know you're gonna slow your Mustang down. You keep on running around now, baby. Gonna put your flat feet back on the ground. All you wanna do is ride around Sally, ride Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride around Sally, ride Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride around Sally, ride Sally, ride. All you wanna do is ride around Sally, ride Sally, ride. One of these early mornings, baby, gonna be wiping your weeping eye. Thank you. Thank you.
And Chrissy here. Hi, Chrissy. Chrissy had Steve in her band, and then the big changeover came. She did a bunch of gigs, duets and stuff with them, and then she had her band, etc., for many years, and I was right on the cusp. I actually did 2 gigs with Steve, but we were also co-landlords in different landlordial worlds. And he taught me a few finance things, and I showed him how electricity works. And that's how I knew Steve. And he had a different kind of a way about him. Angularity, I refer to it as.
I actually was looking for a keyboard player for my band, etc. And this is like 30 years ago, believe it or not. Right before he started the band Cheers. And he came and we just kind of talked. It turns out that he lived very close to me, so it was real easy for me to just run over to his house and see how is this going to fit together. And we started working together with the band, etc. for several years actually. He was our keyboard player, and during that time he was such a character. We did some duo gigs together, and that was really amazing because anybody that knows Steve knows what a interesting sense of humor he has and stuff. We would go do, I remember one that we did for a couple of weeks at Sugar Hill Ski Resort, just the 2 of us. And it was at that time that he introduced his hand puppet Thurman during our shows. I don't know whether he subsequently kept using Thurman, but right in the middle of a song, all of a sudden Thurman would pop up, over the keyboard and start addressing the audience. And Steve had Thurman saying all sorts of interesting stuff, and mostly commentary on my singing, which of course made him very popular with me. But he would say, "No, I don't want you to do that one. It was too sad," or whatever. So it was really a fun time with Steve. He also had a plastic telephone that he would set on the end of his keyboard, and that phone would ring at odd times during our performance too. And he'd pick it up and he'd just say, "What? No, never mind," and go back to. He would never explain or do anything. It was just really a kind of a fun thing that we did. So that was really a good time when we just did those duo things. We also did one for a stretch of time at what's now the Plymouth, I think it's the Plymouth Playhouse. It was, I think, a Radisson back then or whenever. Maybe it is now. But Steve was just a great musician and just a great fun human being. And you know, I just wish, my biggest regret is that I didn't really keep up with him in the last few years. So I wish I had, because he's definitely somebody that's worth knowing and keeping in touch with.
But you knew each other for half of your lives by now.
We did, yeah.
So you're sort of family.
Well, sort of. You know, you're always kind of Steve's family. He's just one of those kind of guys. You never forget him, I'll tell you that.
A couple questions come up in my mind. Because one, a lot of people think they're artists or think they're musicians, but they don't make a living at it. That's a giant cliff to step off of. Yep. What makes for a working musician versus someone who thinks they can do it?
You know, there are many talented amateurs. I think the thing that really does it is if you're willing to actually do the work to work. You know, that's a really difficult thing. I mean, you have to, I remember our band, etc., actually, even, you know, after Steve was with us, then we regrouped and were very busy for many years doing special events and one-nighters, mostly corporate parties and some convention shows and things like that. But it took a lot of time just contacting booking agents, following up with, you know, kind of promo kits, always working on it. It's not something that just happens automatically, although you certainly do get referrals and things like that, like they were talking about Cheers. And our band was like that too, that most of our business probably came from past referrals. But I think it takes a lot of hard work. And then you have to really have a good product. You know, you have to look at it, what would be the thing that would serve our clients best, and be willing to do that and have some fun and be excellent musicians and be willing to do the actual work, you know, of promoting and...
Mm-hmm. You've been working for so long, I think you've forgotten something else, another key ingredient.
Uh-oh, what's that?
Risk.
Well, this is true.
A lot of people don't throw in their chips and say, I'm going to go for it.
That's true.
And they can tell their family what an incredible guitarist I am. I'm really one of the best keyboardists in the Twin Cities, but I am not working as a musician. There's a lot of risk involved, isn't there? And you've forgotten it because you've had a couple years in the business now. But
I've had a year or two,
right?
Yeah.
But it's almost easier to go to work on a 40-hour week job.
It is.
Take a commute, turn off your brain, and just do what they ask you to do. To actually be a creative person is to drive off the road.
Yeah. Yeah, that is difficult, but the problem is that so many of us that are creative people, you know, we love our baby, the creation, but don't realize that we have to actually have a business sense and make some money, or we can't have our baby. You know, other than we're forced to go out and do the 9-to-5 thing, etc. So there has to be a mixture. You have to take risks, but you have to be willing to do the work, and you know, all those things.
There will be other songs to sing, another fall, another spring, but there will never be another you. Will be other lips what I might kiss. They won't thrill me like yours used to do. I may dream a million dreams, but how can they come true if there will never ever be another you?